All right. So, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeting the Experience. There you see the white woman. There she goes. Of course, look. All right, the synchronization. Like I said, the pattern's always the same, and the message is always the same. Using white women. You know, the whole bisexual theme. That's why the bicycle comes in, being targeted with the bicycle. You know, bisexual bicycle, right? So they'll start to do that. Why? Because of the surveillance and using honey traps to manipulate Pam, get her drunk, you know, probably do drugs or what have you, weed or what have you. You know, they know. You know, sometimes, you know, when we experiencing things in our lives, it is not by coincidence or accident. It is by purpose. It is on purpose to manipulate you and I into certain things, right? Social influence, right? If you see, I've never had this feeling of wanting to be in a group or a gang, right? I've been places where, you know, you had socialites, what have you, and I was never the one to be starstruck, anything like that. I don't do celebrity worship. I think I might have went to one parade football with the Giants. Actually, both of them. I think when the Giants in the 2000s, when the Giants won 2 championship with the quarterback Eli Manning. So I went to both parade. And that was it. All right. But again, I don't even look at football anymore. I don't even look at sports, not even basketball, because of the fact that, you know, I can't support organizations that continue to try to destroy black men's lives for speaking out against the injustices against black people at the hands of the racist police state. Right? So, you know, I mean, I don't, you know, like I said, you know, Nigerians do it because, you know, sports is more important to them than their dignity and then each other. And I understand they talk about, oh, you know, we want to support the athletes and stuff like that. I understand that, you know. But yet, those same Nigerians will scold these athletes for standing up and speaking out, you know, against these things, you know. For example, Colin Kaepernick, when you know, when he kneeled and got ostracized and the NFL colluded to destroy his career, I couldn't respect that. I can't respect that, right? So look, look at his hat. He's standing there. Look. He got the P on his hat. Let's see, what is the P supposed to represent? What is my mind telling me? Again, I gotta call it out because I know exactly what it is they do. What is my mind saying when I see the P? Huh? What is my mind saying? Okay? Well, my $932 trillion, $932 billion, $932 million in your personal department there, $932,000, $932.32 payment. That's what that means. Look. Why did they show up? Or they wanted to see if I left Pam because they activated her, right? So I was on the phone with Alda. And, you know, I was telling her, all of a sudden Pam came in, you know, it's 9 o'clock, you gotta go. Right before that, it was the sound of the siren. Okay? So when I talk about the remote neural monitoring and how they activate her, you know, like all of a sudden today, she's calling me, oh, you know, I'm leaving home, I'm leaving work now. You know, again, goes back to that same thing, all right? Whenever she has a date, you know, she'll do none of that stuff. Right, until a couple of years after. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Her behavioral pattern never changed. And I keep telling her that you need to recognize what's being done. Yeah, Cyrus. Yeah. And I keep telling her, you know, your behavioral patterns never change. And I keep telling you exactly what it is that they're doing. Right? You know, and they always activate her, and that when I start to recognize that every time she starts acting like this is right after there's the sirens, the predator department using their sirens. right? And that tells me that, like I told her, I said, when we first started dating, I said, listen, I'm a targeted individual. If you date me, I want you to know this is what they might try to do. But women never listen to us men. Particularly black women. Yeah, they never listen to black men. So when I say to them, I say to her, listen, this is what's going to happen. This is what happened. Even when I said that, I said, okay, you know what? I need you to be a supporter of mine. And, if I'm having a bad day being targeted, I'm asking you that, if you see that I'm kind of snappy or I'm kind of reserved, just come give me a hug to reassure me that everything is okay. Oh, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Right? The very next day, she'll come home and be like, my legs is hurting, such and such. Can you give me a massage? No problem. I give her a massage. That's not a problem. Because I was that supportive person. But then I begin to realize that she's only supportive if she's getting something out of it. Okay? If she's not getting anything out of it, she's not supportive. So I started to realize the transactional mindset in her mind. And then when I started to find out that, through the text messages, telling her ex, that he can grab his butt if you, I'm like, that's disrespectful. When I told her about it, I was just playing. Why are you playing like that? So for men, and for women too, if your significant other have an ex or what have you, and like I said, for men, if you're dating a woman and she's friends with her ex, cut her off. Cut her off. Cut her off. Simple as that. Cut her off. Woman, if you're dating a man and he's still friends with his ex, right? Cut him off. Cut him off. Simple as that. Do not fall into that trap, because it is a trap. And the reason why they're holding on to their ex is simply because they're still in love with them. I shouldn't say still in love, but they're still infatuated with them. They're still obsessed over them, right? Because it's never really love, right? It's never really love. It's literally infatuation. Okay? That's all that is. It's an infatuation and obsession. So you have to literally cut them off. Right? And that's not bad, because let me tell you, the minute you get into an argument, that first argument, she's gonna go, or he's gonna go call his ex or her ex. Next thing you know, they're hanging out, what have you, and such and such. Right? So don't do that. I don't think, I have never dated a woman and still be contacted my exes. No, never. But I had women who I've dated who still contact their ex. And I'm just like, well, it's your ex, will have such and such. I'm just going to go hang out with my, go to lunch with my ex. Woman will never respect you, right? And if they get angry, like I said, cut her off, cut him off. Okay? Simple as that. And like I told her, I said, you got to cut that shit out, right? I said, if you go somewhere and you see ex, that's fine, what have you, but you ain't, telling me you going to meet your ex or this and that. That's not happening. That's not happening. Because I tell you what, if he had a girlfriend, he's not letting his girlfriend go spend time with her ex. You know what I'm saying? If she had a boyfriend, she not letting her man go spend time with his ex. So you got to understand, my brothers, that if these women are telling you this, leave them alone. I'm trying to save you from headaches. Not a heartache, from headaches. Right? Leave them alone. All right? If they talk about, oh, my ex were best friends. No. If he says, oh, me and my ex were best friends, no. If they see each other in passing, that's fine. If they, sending, a little friendly text on social media, that's fine. But as far as calling and want to hang out, no, hell no. Hell no. You know what I'm saying? It's because they never truly want to let go. There is something there that is, you know, keeping them in close circle. Even though they were in a relationship and they wasn't good for each other, or let's say, for example, you know, like a lot of men would do, you know, they'll have a woman around just for sex, making her believe that, you know, they're in a relationship when they're not. Right? Then they start dating other chicks, and she's like, "Well, how you in a relationship?" Well, I never said that. I never said that. See, I've always been the type of guy who, when I said to the person I've dated, I think we dated for a certain amount of time, hey, I want you to be my girl, right? Do you want to be in an exclusive relationship? I've always said that. I've always said that. If I didn't say that, I'll let you know that, listen, we're not in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? It's simple as that. We're not in a relationship. So, but you'll find a lot of women mislead a lot of men, because for them, there are other options out there. They're always looking for better. And it's something that they have, and again, you can't really blame them, because you have to understand how they're conditioned, how they're being manipulated, right? Where do you think the transactional mindset comes from? Where do you think it was promoted? It was promoted within the rap culture, right? Within hip hop, right? Within the models, the video vixen, getting BBLs and stuff like that, and such. You know, these rappers will look for, they go to strip clubs and they see some of the finest strippers, whatever, finest women who are strippers, and they be like, hey, you should come hang out. You should do this, you should that, right? Groupies, all this stuff. So, of course, you know, when certain things are being promoted within music, black music, particularly in hip hop, it is done on purpose, right? You know, the whole gangster rapping thing, you know, I don't have an issue with that, right? And I don't blame the rappers. You got to blame the label execs who knew what they were doing, because they had opportunities to sign people who were not rapping about those things, and they didn't. They didn't, right? And so those artists, you know, you talk about back in early hip hop days, you had a variety of hip hop artists, a variety of hip hop music. And then what happened? They start pushing more and more of a more destructive type of music. The ambulance. Right? They start pushing a more destructive kind of music. You know? And again, if you had balance, it would have been better. But they didn't. They got rid of the conscious music. They got rid of the music that was uplifting people. And they start pushing music that were destructive in its contents, in its lyrics, right? And so that if you're a rapper and you want to have a career, you have to talk about certain things that are destructive, right? Now let's ask this question. In rock music, right, rock and roll, where you had the predominantly white artists, right? Did they push lyrics about doing drugs and stuff like that? Yes, some rock stars will talk about dating underage girls. But guess what? They're not being prosecuted for their lyrics. You know what I'm saying? They're not doing that. They're not being persecuted for their lyrics, right? Now, I wonder if the I gotta check the bus schedule. Because the fact that I see all these dollar cabs, you know, let me know that something is going on. And like I said, you know, that's why I brought up my old phone, because I can still do the videos while I don't have to end the video, while I can go on my other phone and look at the bus schedule. Okay? So yeah. Let me see. Let's see here. Okay, it says the bus should be here. All right, that's what it says. All right, look, hold up. See what it says? It says now, right? Do you see any bus? Nope. Look. Where's he blinking? Where's he in front of his light? And again, a white vehicle, right? Look, white vehicle. Look. All right. Oh yeah. You go make the U-turn. There you go. Right, there you go. There you go. Right? So they make the U-turn. Oh yeah. Like I said, I'm not playing that game with them. I haven't been playing that game with them for a long time. Okay? Alright, sometimes I make them think I'm playing that game with them just because I want to learn what it is, how they do it, so I can expose it. Okay? And, like I was talking to Alva, and I was talking about how, in the book, The Psychopathic Mantra, how they, in that book, it talks about how the elites will create more dark personalities within the civilian population, right? Why? Because the more the things that they do that is detrimental to the society, to people within the society, they have to create more of a psychopathic mindset within the population, right? So that way, the focus is not on them, but it's on the people they manipulated, the people they're conditioned, right? So you got to understand their game and what it is that they do and how they do it. And like I said, what it is that they do with us as TIs, again, we are the distraction. So the people within the society, they're not focused on what's really important. They're focused on targeting you and I because, they enjoy it, right? Just like how I enjoy exposing them now, they enjoy targeting you. They have a sadistic mindset, right? Whereas we TIs who are exposing this have a mindset that, look, this is wrong, this is not right, and we're going to warn society and people exactly what it is that you're doing. All right, so again, I just want to show you guys there is no bus here. So when I talk about how they manipulate the transit app, this is what I talk about, right? So the fact that me doing this, having this other phone that I'm recording to show you guys what it is that it is that they do and how they do it. You know what I'm saying? So you guys clearly saw it says now the bus that I'm waiting on, right? It's supposed to be here right now, and there's no bus in sight. You know what I'm saying? Direct manipulation of the transit app, the public app. Transit, that's public app, but the transit app, right? The MTA app. All right, to give you a false ETA and when the bus is coming. All right? And that's why they had the ambulance there, because, you had to use the siren. That's right, that's why they had to use the ambulance. Yep. That's why they use, like, another ambulance over there. There's a lot of ambulance all over the place, man. This one is not, this lights is not on, but, I can look and see that it is an ambulance. Okay? Let me see. I think, did I use to pinch and zoom on this one? Okay, probably not. Okay? So, yeah. This is, again, like I said, I love exposing them. And I have to get into, I have to have that mindset, because I realized that, they were doing things to try to discourage me from exposing them, with the threats and so forth and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, you are never going to get me back into that flight mode. I was telling Al, I said, I'm going to always be in that fight mode. And whenever they start targeting me heavily and to try to get me into that flight mode, I said, I'm going to be in that fight mode. And even if I have to tear their face off, I'm going to be in that fight mode. Now, you can't tear people's face off, but you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying metaphorically, meaning that, you have to have the courage and elicit the courage and get the courage, even if it's just temporary, to get over that feeling of fear, right? Now, again, that does not, remember, fear is used to make you paranoid, but you can be paranoid and have no fear. Because what paranoia means is that, and the terminology of what people is when you think or you believe people are after you. And again, it could be true, right? So if people are after you, they'll still call you paranoid, right? You understand that, right? And then when it turns out to be true, then they're like, well, I guess people were really after you then. But you did exhibit what they classify as paranoia according to the DSM, right? Although, now, like I said, you rarely see any vehicle with the not in service on this bus line, but you see it now, right? Okay, but you see it now. you see it now, right? And also, when I was talking to Alda in the house, I was, Pam had came in and, and she was like, "Oh, you got to go. It's 9 o'clock." As she was leaving, as she turned around to walk away, she stuck her middle finger up in the air. I said, "Did you just stick your middle finger up in the air at me?" And so I stuck my middle finger back in the air at her. You know what I'm saying? Of course, she was walking away, so she didn't see it. But I had to call her out. Like I said, I'm gonna always call them out, like I used to do with her in the beginning. I'm gonna always call her out on that and the behavior. Right? I'm gonna always call her on the lie. Oh, Alyssa got to get to school early tomorrow because she has an exam. I said, really? Does it matter? Really? I said, how many other exams that she's had that you didn't even you didn't care whether if she would go to bed early, right? Matter of fact, you were home with them, and not once did you even ask her to study. I had to call and say to her, "Can you make sure that the kids read? Can you make sure that Alyssa check her her Google Classroom to make sure that there is no work posted on it, or if there's work posted on it?" She didn't care. She didn't care. So all of a sudden she come over tonight. Now it's like, oh, she got an exam tomorrow. I'm like, please, Pamela. Right? She woke up early this morning, got dressed before everybody else, and her mother didn't even take her to school. She put her in an Uber. Right? And the Uber, look. See the red vehicle making the U-turn? And look all the way down at the intersection. Is an ambulance. Look. Oh, hilarious, man. Hilarious. You're going to see a lot of ambulances. Right? You're going to see a lot of ambulances. Okay? You're going to see a lot of ambulances. Look. What happened? You're not turning on your lights? Huh? Of course, New York is the fecal department of New York. Right? Again, I tell y'all threats don't scare me at all. I keep saying y'all gonna have to make do on your threats. Right? But any opening I get, you ain't gonna live to see it. Okay? Like I said, that's why they're cowards. Because they're not gonna confront you face to face. They'll do shit behind your back. They'll do shit from afar. Because they are what? Cowards. They are cowards. They operate in the shadows, right? Covertly, manipulating us, thinking that they can control us, to enslave us. Right? And then when we stand up for ourselves and expose what it is that they're doing, then they want to threaten us. We don't threaten our family, our kids. Okay? But no more. Freedom or death. No more. Right? And so we have to continue to do what we do as TIs, those of us who have research on exposing what it is that is happening. Again, you got to understand the repressive state. right? And you look at the mindset of what's happening. Look at how, our government, this current administration, go into a sovereign nation, bomb a sovereign nation, and kidnap its president and the president's wife. Do you know what a dangerous precedent that this administration just did? So when China goes into Taiwan, do the same thing, right? Then we're going to say what? Oh, that's not right. It's against international law and it's criminal. But we engage in the same thing and the world is just supposed to shut up and take it? That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And you look at what's happening in Iran right now. And I keep telling my Arab brothers and sisters out there, I'm talking about my true Arab brothers and sisters. Not the elitists, not the ones who feel that they're better than black people, but the ones who understand where they come from and who they are. The ones who are at the bottom of the society. The ones who the elites perpetrate poverty on because they have the same mindset as the white supremacists, right? They have the same mindset, right? They just want control over their people. They don't want to change, right? They don't want to make the system better. They want to continue to live in their palaces, and while the majority of people are struggling, okay? Without understanding that, again, if you look at China, good leadership, lifting your people out of poverty. What do you think happening here? They continue to drive people at the bottom to create more poverty because there's a lot of money from it. There's a lot of money that is made from keeping you and I in poverty, right? We don't quite realize or understand that, but that's the truth. That's the facts.